For generations, they sold you a lie. Work hard, pay your taxes, and the government will take care of you in your golden years. That promise is now mathematically void. The Social Security Trust Fund, the piggy bank 70 million Americans depend on, has officially run out of real assets. We are not talking about a future risk or political debate. This is a present tense collapse. The official depletion date has been accelerated to 2026, and the immediate consequence is a 25% across-the-board benefit cut that is now inevitable. The generational contract has been broken. The money is gone. To understand how we got here, you have to look at the math. The system was designed in a different America, a time when there were 40 workers paying into the system for every one retiree taking benefits out. Today, that ratio has collapsed to less than 3 workers per retiree. The demographic inversion is irreversible. The engine of the system is broken, but the fatal blow was inflation. The cost of living adjustments, the COLAs that the government was forced to pay out, drained the fund at a catastrophic rate. Last year, they paid out billions more in inflation-adjusted benefits than they took in from payroll taxes. Think of it like a bathtub. The drain is wide open, and the faucet has been reduced to a trickle. The bathtub is empty. What's left in the so-called trust fund? Not gold, not cash. It's a stack of paper IOUs from the U.S. Treasury, promises from one bankrupt government agency to another. These are not real assets. They are accounting fiction. Independent analysts, looking at the real inflation data that the government tries to hide, have confirmed that 2026 is not a conservative estimate. It is the real deadline. The money has already been spent. The collapse is happening in real time. This isn't just a government accounting problem. The failure of this public promise is about to trigger a parallel implosion in the private sector. The retirement infrastructure you thought was safe is already failing. Your 401k is not a safe haven. For decades, financial planners have preached the gospel of the 60-40 portfolio. 60% stocks, 40% bonds. They told you it was the bedrock of retirement planning. In the reality of 2025, that portfolio is a wealth destruction engine. It is dead. Let's put this into perspective. If you have $100,000 in your 401k, but the real rate of inflation is 15%, you're losing $15,000 in purchasing power every single year just by standing still. You are not building wealth for retirement. You are getting poorer while you sleep. The market is not growing your savings in real terms. It is systematically vaporizing them. Behind the scenes, the major pension funds are in even more desperate trouble. CalPERS, the California Public Employees Retirement System, and other giants have been taking catastrophic leveraged bets to try to make up for their massive shortfalls. They poured billions into private credit and complex derivatives. When the silver squeeze hit and interest rates spiked, these leveraged positions blew up. We are hearing credible rumors this morning of a major pension fund facing an immediate liquidity crisis. They cannot send out checks because their money is trapped in failed trades. They gambled with the retirements of teachers and firefighters and they lost. This is the 2008 playbook, but the next crash will be deeper. In 2008, 401ks became 201ks, losing nearly half their value. The coming collapse will be more severe because the underlying debt in the system is exponentially higher. The stock market is not a savings account. It is a casino where the house is about to turn off the lights. And while the private sector crumbles, the government is preparing a solution that will punish the very people who played by the rules. So how will Washington respond to this total systemic failure? They won't admit they are broke. They will not declare bankruptcy. Instead, they will introduce their ultimate betrayal. Means testing. They will reframe the crisis. They will say, Social Security is meant to be a safety net for the poor. If you have savings, if you have a 401k, if you own gold and silver, you don't need a government check. In one legislative move, they will transform an earned right that you paid for your entire working life into a welfare program. This is the ultimate punishment for responsibility. You sacrificed. You deferred consumption. You saved your money while others spent. Your reward? Disqualification from the benefits you were promised. This is not reform. It is wealth redistribution disguised as compassion. It is a trap designed to confiscate what little security you have managed to build for yourself. The government is trapped between two catastrophic choices. Option 1, enact the necessary 25% benefit cuts. This would cause immediate social unrest. You would see riots in the streets as 70 million people suddenly found they could not afford groceries. Option 2, print the money. They will choose option 2. They will fully fund Social Security by creating trillions of new dollars out of thin air. They will honor the promise in nominal terms but destroy it in real terms. You will still get your $2,000 check, but that check will only buy $200 worth of food. A loaf of bread will cost $20. This is an inflationary default. They are paying you in confetti. They get to claim they saved the system while ensuring the system delivers nothing. This deliberate devaluation is a silent tax on every retiree, but it hits one generation with a force that will shatter the American social contract. The full weight of this collapse falls directly on the baby boomer generation. Right now, 10,000 Americans are turning 65 every single day. They are leaving the workforce and entering the dependency class at a rate the system was never designed to handle. The math is simple and brutal. The system was built for 40 workers supporting one retiree. We are now at less than 3 workers for every retiree. The younger generations, the millennials and Gen Z, cannot possibly tax themselves enough to support this mass retirement. They are already buried under student debt and facing a cost of living crisis. This unsustainable equation is tearing the social contract apart. It is creating a generational war. The boomers, who paid into the system for decades, expect and demand their checks. The younger generations, who see their paychecks shrunk by rising payroll taxes, resent funding a promise that will be broken by the time they retire. There is no political solution that can satisfy both sides. The money does not exist. The most tragic result of this financial collapse is what we are already beginning to see, the great unretirement. Record numbers of people over 70 are being forced back into the workforce. This is not by choice. They are not returning to fulfilling second careers. They are bagging groceries, driving for Uber, and taking minimum wage service jobs just to pay for basic necessities like heat and medicine. The dream of the golden years, of leisure, travel, and time with family, is dead. It has been replaced by the grim reality of survival years. The promise of a dignified retirement after a lifetime of work has been broken, and the demographic wave of boomers now faces the prospect of working until they literally drop. This is the human cost of a fiat currency system that systematically erodes the value of your labor and your savings over time, leaving an entire generation financially stranded at the most vulnerable point in their lives. The financial collapse of Social Security is not an isolated event. It is directly wired to the impending failure of Medicare. These two systems are funded from the same depleted source, and when the cash runs out for one, it triggers a domino effect for the other. Healthcare rationing is no longer a political talking point. It is a mathematical inevitability. As the funds vanish, the government will have no choice but to decide who gets care and who gets a painkiller. This is the reality of death panels, though they will never call them that. The decisions will be made by bureaucrats in an office building, not by doctors in a hospital. They will use cost-benefit algorithms to determine that a hip replacement for an 80-year-old is not a prudent use of resources. They will decide that certain cancer treatments are too expensive for the expected lifespan of a retiree. This is a humanitarian crisis unfolding in the world's richest nation, where the elderly will be denied life-extending care simply because the government has run out of other people's money. We have seen this playbook before. In the final days of the Soviet Union, the pensioners were the first to be abandoned. Their meager state payments became worthless, and without a family structure to fall back on, they were the most vulnerable. In Venezuela, retirees watched their lifetime of savings evaporate into hyperinflation, leaving them destitute. History's lesson is clear and brutal. The state is the worst possible guardian of your future. Relying on a bankrupt government for your survival in old age is a death sentence. The only individuals who retire with any semblance of dignity in a collapsing system are those who hold assets the state cannot easily confiscate or devalue. This failure of the public system forces a stark choice: remain trapped in the dying paper system or seek a physical alternative. The state has proven itself to be the worst custodian of your future. The only path to security is self-custody. This means moving your wealth into physical assets that carry no counterparty risk. An ounce of gold, an ounce of silver, these are not promises. They are tangible items that no politician can void, no central banker can print into oblivion, and no failing institution can default on. Your survival depends on understanding the fundamental difference between paper and physical. History provides the ultimate proof. Over a 30-year retirement span, no paper currency has ever preserved purchasing power. But physical precious metals have consistently done exactly that. If you had saved in silver instead of dollars for the last 20 years, you would be retiring with real wealth today, not facing poverty. The value is in the metal itself, an asset that has been recognized for thousands of years. It is the only retirement plan that is fully funded by the laws of physics and chemistry, not the whims of politicians. The government knows this, which is why they will try to trap you in their next system. They will offer a digital lifeline, central bank digital currencies, or CBDCs. They will say, the old Social Security system is broken, but we can send Fed coins directly to your phone every month. But this digital allowance will come with conditions. You may be required to spend it within 30 days. You will certainly be blocked from using it to buy physical silver or gold. They will monitor every transaction, potentially restricting purchases from political opponents or for goods they deem non-essential. They will use your desperation for a pension check to enslave you within a digital control grid. Do not trade your freedom for a controlled monthly stipend. The exit from the system is still open, but it requires holding assets they cannot easily touch. This crisis is not confined to America's borders. It is a global contagion that proves the failure of government paper everywhere. This is not an American problem. This is a Western problem. This is a global default on the social contract. Look at the United Kingdom. Last year, their pension system came within hours of total collapse. A spike in bond yields triggered margin calls on their leveraged derivative positions, forcing the Bank of England to launch an emergency bailout to prevent a domino effect of pension fund failures. They printed money to save a system that is fundamentally insolvent. Look at France. When the government tried to raise the retirement age by just 2 years to keep their system afloat, it triggered massive, sustained riots. The social fabric tore because the math no longer works. The people understood that the promise was broken. And then there is the East. China's demographic time bomb is now exploding. Their one-child policy created a population pyramid that is inverted. They are getting old before they get rich. They have an entire generation of only children now responsible for supporting 2 parents and 4 grandparents. Their state pension system is a hollow shell, a promise backed by nothing. The entire developed world has made promises that its demographics cannot keep. The West is bankrupt. The East is getting old. There is no safe haven in government debt, in sovereign bonds, in any form of paper promise anywhere on the planet. The entire concept of a state-guaranteed retirement is failing simultaneously across the globe. When every major economy faces the same crisis, there's no one left to bail out anyone else. The failure is systemic. In the face of this global state failure, the only structure that remains is the one they cannot tax away: the family. The independent retirement model, the idea of grandma living alone in a Florida condo funded by a monthly check, is ending. That was a historical anomaly, a brief period made possible by a Ponzi scheme that is now collapsing. We are returning to the economic reality that defined human existence for millennia: multi-generational survival. Economic necessity will force the rebuilding of the family unit. Adult children will have to care for their aging parents, because the state check will be insufficient to cover rent or medical copays. The 3-generation household will become the norm again, not out of nostalgia, but out of sheer financial imperative. This is how humanity survived for thousands of years before the false promise of Social Security. It was neighbors helping neighbors, children supporting parents. The community was the original safety net. This is not a step backward, it is a return to reality. The state's failure reveals that these deep-rooted social structures were the only genuine security all along. The government's final act will not be to save you. It will be to attempt to nationalize whatever private wealth remains, forcing a final confrontation between the failing system and the enduring unit of the family.